People always say, what's the moral of the Goosebumps book?
Yeah.
What are you trying to teach them? And the only moral is run.
Hello, boos and ghouls. You're listening to Chicago Humanities Tapes, the audio arm, leg, and eyeball to the live Chicago Humanities spring and fall festivals. I'm your host, Elisa, makes Halloween her whole personality in October, Rosenthal, and today, best-selling children's author RL Stein, author of the book series Goosebumps, Fear Street, in addition to short stories, comic books, and even a memoir or two, pulls us into his delightfully dark world. First introduced in 1992, Goosebumps has become one of the best-selling book series of all time. This speaks to my generation perfectly. Goosebumps was so popular at my school in the mid-90s that the books were actually banned, but not because of the content, but because kids kept stealing them from each other. So if you ever see a vintage Goosebumps book floating around a bookstore, check the inside cover. It might have belonged to a certain Elisa R. RL Stein slithered by Chicago's iconic Music Box Theater, the nearly century-old beloved movie theater, to chat with the Chicago Tribune's Chris Borrelli, a features writer who frequents the horror novel beat. Live attendees to this event were treated to a pre-show school-tastic book fair, Halloween-themed cocktails and mocktails, and other horror-related shopping, plus an episode of the Disney Plus TV show Goosebumps on the big screen. And a number of early ticket buyers were also able to nab tickets to the meet and greet with RL Stein himself. But fret not if this sounds up your alley and you want to be the first to know about these kinds of special events next time. The best way to keep up on our event announcements is to sign up for our email list or give us a follow on Instagram at ChyHumanities. Plus, becoming a Chicago Humanities member unlocks a range of exclusive benefits, including pre-sales, discounts on tickets, access to members-only events, complimentary tickets, and much more. Head to chicagohumanities.org for all that good info. This is RL Stein with Chris Borrelli at the Music Box Theater in October 2024.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming tonight. Wow, what a crowd. What an ugly crowd. Nice. Before you talk, I want to tell you why I'm especially glad to be here tonight. Okay, this is why I'm especially glad. I did a book signing in Baltimore a few weeks ago, and a teacher came up to the table and she said, "Can I have my picture taken with you? The kids all think you're dead." That's why I'm especially glad to be here.
So I thought we could start by, I'll start in a personal way. I wanted to recite a few of your favorite, my favorite titles of some of your books for a reason.
Yes.
Little Shop of Hamsters, The Blob That Ate Everyone, Escape from Camp Run for Your Life, Heads You Lose, The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena, that's my favorite one, The Egg Monsters from Mars, I Live in Your Basement. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because, is it true that you start with the title? You don't have an idea necessarily?
No, I don't try to
You go
think.
backwards.
People always say, where do you get your ideas? I mean, that's the most asked question of any author. And of course, there's no answer to it. Anything an author will tell you, an answer to that question, garbage. It's all garbage. Because you don't know, where do you get ideas, right? We all get ideas. I don't try to think of ideas. Well, for one thing, I've done every story. There's nothing left. So I try to think of a good title. And then the title will lead me to the story. One day I was walking my dog in the park. I live in New York. And these words flashed into my mind. Say cheese and die. I thought, where did that come from? I don't know. But I thought, good title, and I started to think. What if there was an evil camera? What if some kids discovered it? What if it took pictures of bad things that happened? And that's really how I do every book. Sometimes I'll have an idea for a book, and I can't think of a good title, and I throw out the idea.
I mean, obviously the titles are sort of a nod to the history of monster movies and horror movies to some extent. Were you a monster, sort of a creature monster kid? Were you part of that whole culture?
Actually, next week I'm going to my hometown, Columbus, Ohio, and I'm going to the little movie theater that my brother and I used to go to when we were kids every Saturday morning, and we would see a Tom and Jerry cartoon festival and a horror movie. And we saw all the great, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, It Walks Among Us, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I saw all of those, and, we loved them. But I never really, I was always just funny. I never planned to be scary at all. Never planned to. I just always loved horror. When I was a kid, there were these great horror comics called Tales from the Crypt, and the and the Vault of Horror.
They were very funny too.
They were funny too. Right. They were gruesome, bloody comics, great artwork, and they all had a twist ending. And I just loved these comics. And they had a big stack of them at the barber shop. But one day, I bought a couple, and I brought them home, and my mom stopped me at the door, and she said, "I'm sorry, you can't have these, they're trash. You can't have these." So this is a true story. Every Saturday, I would go to the barber shop to read. I had less hair when I was a kid. I had less hair then than I do now, because I would go get a haircut every week so I could read these comic books. And they obviously were a very big influence on me.
In terms of reading and writing, when you first started, before we came out, we were talking about Ray Bradbury. Was he sort of a formative author for you?
People say, what children's books did you like when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And I didn't read books. I only read comic books. And I just loved comics. And one day my mom dropped me off at the little library on Main Street in my neighborhood, and the librarian was waiting for me. And she said, "Bobby, I know you like comic books. I have something else I think you'll like." And she took me to a shelf of Ray Bradbury stories. And those really changed my life.
What stories? Like, what was some of the...
I don't remember, that was 112 years ago, exactly. But no, they were just so imaginative and so creative, so brilliantly written, and they all had twist endings.
Yeah.
And I just loved it, and he really turned me into a reader.
You know what I've always liked about what I like about Bradbury, and to some extent what I like about your stuff as well, is there's sort of the anticipation of something really bad about to happen, and it kind of builds into something that there's something really horrible that's going to happen. I mean, there's kind of these little hints, wind in the trees and things like that, the little details, right?
Yes.
How important are those little details to you as opposed to, say, the monster on the cover of the book? Because to me, it's like the whole book in a way.
Yeah, the trick to Goosebumps in most of my books is that they're all written first person. And
they're all first person?
Almost all.
Oh, wow.
The protagonist, everything goes through the protagonist.
Yeah.
So everything she sees, everything she smells, everything she hears, it's a very close point of view. And that's what makes it scarier. That's the whole secret of being scary, is to have the very close point of view. I want to tell you about Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
Before we go off. Many years later, I was at the Los Angeles Times Book Festival, and there was Ray Bradbury in a booth eating a hot dog. And I looked, I'd never met him or anything. He was like so important to me. And my wife said, "Go introduce yourself." I said, "Oh, I couldn't. No, I can't do it." She said, "Go ahead. He's so important to you. Go talk to him." I said, "Oh, no, I couldn't." I was so nervous. And I went over to Ray Bradbury, and I was like a kid. And I went up and I said, "Mr. Bradbury, you're my hero." And he turned around and he shook hands and he said, "Well, you're a hero to a lot of other people."
Oh.
And I burst into tears.
Did you really?
No, it was
really
so
cried?
embarrassing. It was like, when something's too nice, It's just too nice, right? It was like this amazing moment. But what a wonderful thing. It's just one of my great memories.
So wait, just to go back to one thing you just said, you've never used third person in a book or anything.
I'm actually writing one right now that's third, but I'm almost always first person.
Yeah.
Just because I can make it scarier for kids.
Right. Has
Well, that's it. I mean, obviously, I like scaring kids, right?
Has a kid ever died in a Goosebumps book? I've
No.
not read all of them, obviously.
No, even the ghosts in Goosebumps, they died 100 years ago.
Okay.
No one ever dies in Fear Street is a different story.
Right.
Fear Street. Thank you. Hey, thank you. You know, we have a new Fear Street movie coming next year. It's already filmed. It's based on the Fear Street novel, The Prom Queen. It's already shot. Hey, we kill a lot of teenagers in Fear Street. Why is it? Why do people love it when you kill teenagers? I don't know why they like it so much.
How much do you want, in terms of Goosebumps, how much do you want a kid to be scared? Like, I mean, here's a serious answer.
Okay. I hate it when parents say, your book gave my kid nightmares, or I had nightmares. I hate that. They're supposed to just get the deep shudders, right? Right? They're not. I don't really want to terrify kids. The whole idea is to get them reading. That's really the whole point. That's the point of Goosebumps. You know, I didn't know. I wrote joke books, and I did a humor magazine for 10 years. And when I started writing scary books, I mean, I had no idea why they liked them or what. I was confused. And I would go into schools, seriously, and I'd say, why do you like these books? And every time they said, we like to be scared. And I, after a while, I realized kids like to have these scary adventures.
Right.
They like to be scared when they know they're safe at the same time. When they know they're in their room reading, they're out fighting these monsters, but they know they're home safe, and they know that every book has a happy ending. They all have they have to have happy endings.
Is it true that they didn't really take off right away, the books themselves? They didn't, the series didn't necessarily catch fire immediately. It took a little bit. Yeah.
It sat there on the shelf. We put out 2 or 3 of them, and they just sat there. I think today they would have been just taken away.
So word of mouth then, I suppose.
But after like 4 or 5 months, kids discovered them. Some secret kids network. I don't know. We didn't advertise. No one knew me. I don't know how. Somehow kids found them. They brought them into school. And it was just word of mouth. And they just caught on all over the world. How lucky was that? Yeah. Pretty lucky, right?
It was sort of a radical idea at the time, right? What was the first meeting on Goosebumps like? When somebody came to you...
Well, I didn't want to do Goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's the kind of businessman I am. No, we were doing Fear Street. We were killing off teenagers every month. And Fear Street was doing very well, for teens. And my wife and her partner had a company called Parachute Press. And they said, no one has ever done a scary series for 7 to 12-year-olds. We should try it.
Which is why, by the way, I read this and this made me laugh. Somebody wrote about you that you were a training bra for Stephen King. Is that correct?
You didn't have to bring that up. What is that? I'm telling a story here. He's talking about training bras.
Sorry. I apologize.
I don't believe it. I've only met Stephen King once at the Edgar Awards, the Mystery Writers Awards. And we had a nice talk, and I said, Steve, a magazine once called me a training bra for you. And he said, yes, I know. Then he accused me of taking all the amusement park plots and not leaving any for any other writer. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't
Yeah.
want to do Goosebumps, and they kept after me. I said, I don't want to mess up Fear Street. We're doing great with Fear Street.
Yep.
And they kept after me, and I said, all right, if I can think of a good name for the series, maybe we can try 2 or 3. So I'm trying to think of a name for the book series. And one day I'm reading TV Guide, and in those days, TV Guide had all the TV listings in the middle of the magazine, everything that was on. And I'm going through, and there's a little ad at the bottom of a page, and it says, it's Goosebumps Week on Channel 11. And I just stared at it. I said, that's perfect. We'll call it Channel 11. That's a really bad joke, right?
Yeah.
No, I apologize.
You didn't debut
I
that joke
apologize
tonight.
for that. But listen, but that's where Goosebumps came from. That's where the name came from that little ad. And I said, okay, we'll try 2 or 3. And now, 32 years later, I just signed on to do 6 more. I don't know. I'm going to be 112. I'm still writing for 10-year-olds.
When you started writing them, was there sort of a learning curve for you in terms of the amount of horror
Definitely.
to?
I always thought
to laughs. Basically.
Yes, the very first Goosebumps book, Welcome to Dead House, I think is, thank you, but I think it's too scary for the series. I hadn't really.
You wouldn't write it today.
I would add some humor now.
Okay.
I hadn't really got the balance of funniness and scariness in that first book. And I think that book is too scary for Goosebumps. But no one else thinks that, and it's fine. No one cares, right? But by the second one, Stay Out of the Basement, where the guy's turning into a plant, I'd caught on, I'd added humor. Anytime it would get really intense, I'd put in something funny. But yeah, that's one thing I learned.
Yeah.
The other thing I learned is that kids are really smart. And they know if they're ready for scary stuff or not. I had 2 nephews, and they were both 7 or 8 years old. And one nephew, Dan, loved Goosebumps. He thought it was hilarious. And my nephew, Sam, was terrified. He didn't want any part of it. And every once in a while, I would mail Sam a book. I'd say, Sam, I think you'll like this one. It's not too scary. And he called me up and he said, Bob, you know where this book is going, right in the garbage. The kids know. I mean, they know if they're right, if they're right for it or not.
Was Scholastic ever concerned about where the horror line was there at all?
I think they might have been if it hadn't started selling so well. But then
It all went out the window.
Yeah. No, we were the black sheep of Scholastic, of course. But no, I think they were very pleased. Because I don't want to brag, but back in the day, I mean, at the height of Goosebumps, back in the 90s, we sold 4 million books a month. It was amazing. It was such a lucky thing. So I think they were happy about that.
Conversely, though, I remember reading an interview with you, this is a while ago, where you said, and I might be getting this sort of wrong, but you said that you sort of found violence in books, in movies, in TV shows for kids, not a bad thing for kids necessarily to experience.
No, I think violence is good for kids. And I do. No, seriously, because I'm talking about how smart they are, they know the difference between fictional violence and real violence. They're reading about a fight or something going on, some violence in a book, and they go out on the street and see something violent happening. They know they know the difference. And kids need that kind of outlet, I think. I think a lot of my readers identify with the monsters. these kids, seriously. I think they feel anger, they feel pent up, they want to roar. And I always thought violence was very good for kids.
You realize that's not a very popular argument, right?
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I've been trying to get my daughter to see the original Alien.
Yeah.
She's 8. So there's
No, I don't know.
it's
My
a good
grandson is 10, and he plays Fortnite. He kills people all day.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't see anything bad.
We should establish here that you still write about, roughly about 4 books a year?
What am I doing these days? I'm doing 3 Goosebumps a year.
Okay.
And I'm doing my short story series, Stinetinglers, which the new one came. It's a good title, right? That one came out. And I'm writing other books for another publisher. A new one is called Shark Night, about a boy caught in a shark trap. And I'm writing comic books. I'm doing graphic novels.
What's a shark trap? I've never heard of a shark trap.
It's a big water tank.
Oh, okay.
And it's
okay.
It's a TV show, and they're supposed to lower an old shark, toothless shark down, and the kids they're filming it, but they send the wrong shark down. That's how it starts out. I'm doing graphic novels. I'm for Boom Studios out in L.A., and my new is called The Graveyard Club. And I'm having a lot of fun. Now I'm writing comic books. I've come like full circle. Yeah. I'm really having a good time with that. Thank you.
Do you write every day? Then
Yeah,
I guess you have to.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I have great hours. You'd kill for my hours. No, you would. I write from 10 to 1 every day. That's it. Then I'm done. Then I take the dog for a walk. That's good hours, right? 10 to 1.
Do you set a number of words or anything like that?
Yeah, I set a limit at 2,000 words a day, which is about 10 pages.
Okay.
It's factory work. Right? And I have this game I play with myself. When I hit the 2,000th word, I just quit. No matter where I am.
Really?
No matter. Yeah. Well, 2,000, goodbye. And that's it. I do write at least 6 days a week.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure you get asked this, but you don't use any ghostwriters at all.
Too egotistical. I can't let somebody else do it.
Right.
No. Also, I love it. I don't know why. Why do I like it so much? Mm-hmm. I mean, I still look forward to it. I mean, I'm 9 years old. I'm in my room with a typewriter, typing. Why? Why did I think it was so interesting? And I'd be, my parents didn't understand at all. My mother would stand outside my door and she would say, "What's wrong with you? Stop typing. Go outside and play." What worst advice I ever got, right? Stop typing and go play. Yeah, but I've been writing since I was 9 years old.
Do you think of the books to some extent as a formula? Do you see a formula in the books?
I wish there was a formula.
Yeah.
Everyone always says, "Oh, he found the formula."
Right.
What's the formula? What is it? Somebody tell me what the formula is. It would be a lot easier. No, it gets a lot harder. It's actually a lot harder for me, mainly because I've done everything. And it's a real challenge not to repeat myself and not to keep coming up with new things. I was on a TV news thing this morning, and it was talking about Slappy the Dummy. And everyone, yeah, I know. But everyone, that's the biggest character I've created, most popular. At Halloween time, thousands of kids go out as Slappy. That's really a thrill for me. But Slappy's my favorite character and my least favorite character. He's my favorite character because people like him so much. He's my least favorite character because I'm sick of him. I didn't tell you that either. No, I've had to write 15 books about a dummy that comes to life. That's hard. And I even killed him in one book. I wrote The Ghost of Slappy. But I had to bring him back. No, I mean, that's a lot of books. I did a talk like this in Toronto a few years ago at a big theater like this, and 40 people came dressed as Slappy. And I brought them all up on stage. It looked great. And I was looking at them and I thought, I should be in the red bow tie business. Forget books. We should be selling red bow ties.
Do publishers ever reject a Goosebumps story idea?
Right now, I've written one that my editor hates. It's
Really?
Seriously,
Really?
Yeah. No, but they've never rejected. I've had one. It was a cat book. I don't remember. Curse of the. I don't know. It's too many books. I can't remember. I had to write it 3 times.
What's the one that's hated right now?
That I'm writing now.
Yeah.
It's called The Last Sleepover. It's for next year, and my editor just hated it.
Why? Well,
I haven't talked to her yet. I've been dreading it. I know I have to deal with it when I get home. So I mean, see, it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah.
But I'm so lucky. I have really good editors.
Well, I just wonder what the threshold is for rejecting a Goosebumps.
Yeah,
story
well,
at
they
this
don't
point.
really reject them, but
Right.
you know why? Because I have to I do an outline of every book first before I write it, and I submit the outline.
Okay.
So maybe if they don't want the book, they don't accept the outline. I outline every book I write first. People hate outlines, right? Everyone hates to outline, but I can't work without it now. And when I sit down to write the book, I know everything that's going to happen in the book. I've done like a 20-page outline for every Goosebumps book. And it's got chapter 1, chapter 2. And I know that way this is how I can write so fast, because I do all the thinking first. And then I can just enjoy the writing.
So you're physically putting the outline, you see it while you're writing. Yeah.
I have dialogue in it and every chapter ending in the outline. I do all the work first, and then the writing's fun. But kids always say, what do you do about writer's block? But how can you can't have writer's block if you have it all planned out first. You know where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever steal ideas?
I can't hear
Do you ever steal ideas?
Do I ever what?
Steal ideas.
Always.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Ever read Agatha Christie?
Yeah.
Ever look at the Twilight Zone?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
that's
homage. And then there's
it's homage.
Right.
It's not stealing.
Right. Sorry.
No, you know, authors get ideas from everywhere, and I get ideas from other writers all the time. Mm-hmm. From reading, I read a lot, and other ideas, and ideas from movies, things that, you see it, and then you think, what could I do different?
Yeah.
And, you build off that. But, yeah, I steal a lot.
But you're not a horror reader, though, right? You don't read horror novels or anything.
No one's listening, right? I'm not really into horror. I know. No, I read mostly mysteries and thrillers. I was on the board of the International Thriller Writers for a long time, and I got to know all the writers that I read, Michael Connelly and Harlan Coben and Lee Child and all those people. They're all friends of mine, and that's mainly what I read.
When you were growing up in Columbus, I got to ask, what was your childhood like? What were you afraid of?
I grew up in a suburb, quiet suburb, boring. It's mostly Columbus was boring in those days, but a very normal childhood. I was a very fearful child and very shy, and I think that's why I liked staying in my room writing. And we were very poor. My family was very poor, and we lived right on the edge of a very wealthy community. The governor of Ohio, the governor's mansion was 2 blocks away from us. Wow. And we were in this little brick house, tiny, the 5 of us. And I think it made me feel like an outsider. I think that's maybe one reason I became a writer. I'm giving you serious answers.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, I know. What's going on here?
But what were some of the things you were afraid of? Were you afraid of just being an outcast? Were you?
I would ride my bike around the neighborhood in the evening, and then it would start to get dark, and I'd bring my bike back up, and I always thought something was lurking in the garage. There was something waiting for me in the garage, and I would just take my bike and heave it into the garage, and every night, and then go running into the house.
Yeah.
This was lucky. I mean, it's a terrible way to be a kid, but when I started writing these scary books, I could bring back that feeling of panic. I could remember what that feeling was like, and I think it helped me a lot in the books.
It's October, so I feel stupid if I didn't ask this, but what were your Halloween costumes like?
I did a piece in the New York Times this week, and I told this story.
Right.
Yes. Halloween was humiliating for me. No, here's a true story, okay? I was like 8 or 9, and my family was very poor, and I wanted to be something scary for Halloween. I wanted to be a vampire or a mummy or even a pirate, something scary. And my parents went to the Five and Dime to buy costume. And they came back and they gave me the box, and I opened it up, and it was a fuzzy yellow duck with a fuzzy white tail. And I had to be a duck for Halloween. My friends just thought it was hilarious. And we were very poor. I couldn't get a new costume every year.
So you were a duck every year?
I had to be a duck every year. So Halloween is painful for me.
You moved to New York at some point, right?
Yeah, right after I went to Ohio State.
Ohio State, right. You ran the
I was
humor
editor
magazine.
of the humor. In those days, every
Right.
college had a humor magazine.
Right.
And I was editor of the humor magazine for 3 years. That's all I did in college. I never went to class. I did this humor magazine, and it actually paid my way to New York City. And I moved to New York to be a writer. I thought in those days, I thought you had to live in New York to be a writer.
Right.
You couldn't live anywhere else.
Right.
So I got an apartment in Greenwich Village and started getting jobs and things.
What kind of writing-
Here's my very first job in New York.
Yeah.
Okay? And I answered an ad. My very first job was making up interviews with the stars.
I was going to ask about this.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
This woman had 6 movie magazines that she had to fill every month. And there were 3 of us who would come in every morning, and she would say, do an interview with the Beatles. do an interview with Diana Ross. Do an interview, and I would just sit down and write an interview. And we made them up. I just made up interviews with these people. No, it was a great job. Because, well, one thing, I learned to write really fast, and I learned to make up stuff. Right?
What did you picture yourself as a writer, though, then, when you moved to New York?
I moved to New York to write funny novels for adults.
Okay.
And the last thing, I never thought about writing for kids. Sure. Never did. And I I answered an ad, and I got a job writing for Scholastic. Writing history and geography for Junior Scholastic. And I wrote that, and after a while, they gave me my own magazine at Scholastic. And then my wife started a kids magazine at Scholastic, which was huge at the time. It was called Dynamite. And
Any Gen X
this was
here?
the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but you also started Bananas.
And then I started Bananas, a humor magazine. I did that for 10 years.
These Dynamite and Bananas were very important to me, but I guess
Yeah.
from the reaction here, I
No,
can tell
nice.
that everybody's a lot younger.
No one remembers them at all. No.
It was sort of
when the
Fonzie.
that was my life's dream, to have my own humor magazine. It was really exciting. And then when it ended and I went home, I thought I would coast the rest of my life. I thought I would just coast. I had no idea what was going on. And then one day I was having, this is true, and this is an embarrassing story, because it wasn't my idea to write scary books. I was having lunch with this woman, a publisher at Scholastic named Jean Fywell, and she arrived at lunch angry, and she had a fight with another writer, and she said, who shall remain nameless, Christopher Pike, and she said, I'm never working with him again. You could write a good scary novel for teenagers. Go home and write a book called Blind Date. And I didn't know what she was talking about. What's a scary book for teenagers? I didn't know.
She didn't give you a plot,
But
just...
in those days, we didn't say no to anything.
Yeah.
And I ran running to the bookstore, and I bought books by Christopher Pike and Lois Duncan and Richie Tankersley Cusick. They were all writing horror novels. Diane Ho. They were all writing, and I bought all their books so I could see what it was about, and then tried to figure out what I could do a little differently. And this book, Blind Date, came out. It was a #1 bestseller. I thought, wait, what? And I thought, yeah. And a year later, she asked me to write another one. I wrote one called Twisted, and it was a #1 bestseller. And I said, forget the funny stuff. I've been scary ever since.
You're coming to kids where they are, as opposed to trying to force some kind of moral on them or a lesson or something.
People always say, well, what's the moral of the Goosebumps book?
Yeah.
What are you trying to teach them? And the only moral is run. Run. No, I don't really. This is a secret of Goosebumps. I don't try to teach them anything. I just they probably lose IQ points when they read it, right? But I just want, adults turn to books, and we can read anything we want, and just to be entertained. And I think kids are entitled to pick up a book and just be entertained by it. There used to be a rule in children's publishing that every character in a children's book had to learn and grow. And this was a strict rule, and I thought, why? Who needs that? Who needs that? And so I don't do that. I mean, the thing about Goosebumps is that it's all normal kids. They're not special. They're not specially talented. They're not special. They're normal kids facing these horrible situations, facing this horror, and their parents are useless. Right? The parents never believe them, or they're not there, and they have to solve these problems with their own wits. Right. And that's really what Goosebumps is about, and nothing else.
So you've never thought of them as, even after the fact, that this is sort of a metaphor for fear or for growing up or anything?
That's too deep for me. No, I don't think about that. I think about just entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I hate. I hate authors who come into schools and they have an assembly and they say, write what you know, write from your heart, always write from your heart. Those kids will never write another word. Right?
Yeah.
No, they won't. I've written over 300 books, not a single word from my heart. No, it's true. Just to entertain.
I mean, you wrote joke books for a while. Is that correct?
Yes, I wrote a lot of joke books, 101 school cafeteria jokes, right. 101 dog. Here's my best dog joke, okay? Now it's a kid's joke, all right? What do you get when you cross a dog with a frog? You get a dog that can lick himself from across the room. It's a kid's joke, come on. That's one of my best jokes.
we've already established some of the horror inspirations, but what were the comedy inspirations? What were the joke inspirations?
Oh, I had a lot of people that I
Yeah.
loved, and early 50s, I was a kid in the 50s, and all kinds of TV people back then, Sid Caesar and Steve Allen and Jackie Gleason and a whole bunch of comedians. I loved them all. I just was drawn to comedy.
Did you want to be a professional
very
joke
early.
writer? Did you want to write jokes for a living? I mean, you were, I guess.
Have I? I don't know. I wrote 3 Garbage Pail Kids books last year. And that was just for fun, funny. I did a book series for Harper called Rotten School. I did a whole bunch of really rotten boarding school.
Do more boys read your books than girls?
No, this is
What are the demos?
no.
basically?
This is secret. Everyone thinks it's boys. The secret of Goosebumps is that it's equally girls and boys. And before, no, it's really true. It's really true. I started writing it for girls because everyone knew girls read and boys don't read. No. But then the mail started coming in, and it was 50-50. And I realized that, we'd hit them both. That's the real secret of the series.
Right. How old are you right now?
How old am I? Good night, everyone. Yesterday, I turned 81. Yeah. No, don't clap. No, please, don't clap for that. Don't clap for that. That's my own horror story. No, it's horrible. Trust me, you would hate it. You would hate it. Yes. Why did you ask? What?
Well, I asked because I'm wondering, to some extent, you're writing for kids. How do you still write for kids at 81?
How can you?
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm going to write 6 more.
Kids are different now than they were 32 years ago.
No, I'm lucky. My grandkids are the right age, and I spy on them a lot. And I go to playgrounds in my raincoat. And I spy on kids. I have to keep up with them, right? Yeah, and I have to keep up with culture, with the music they like. I have to keep what they're wearing, what technology, what they're using. That's a hard part of the job, because you don't want to sound like an old man, trying to be hip. But you have to be careful. The whole cell phones have ruined all books. They've ruined all mysteries. We used to do a plot for teenagers. Used to do, 5 kids in a cabin in the woods, and one of them's a murderer, and they're trapped in the woods. Now they take their phone, they text somebody, they call for help, and the book is over.
Right.
You can't, the girl would be getting frightening phone calls, terrible. Who's calling me? Who's doing? Now they look on the phone, they see, and that's it. So it's very hard. You got to get rid of the cell phones right away, or you can't do a story.
Why so many amusement parks in your books?
Amusement parks?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big Disney fan, and I want to live in Disney. I want to live in the park. We had a Goosebumps attraction at Disney World
for like a year,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Goosebumps Horrorland and Fright Show. I had my own land. It was no, I had an excuse to go there. It only lasted a year.
Yeah.
And they took it down after a year because we didn't sell enough T-shirts. No, really, that's all they cared about. We didn't sell enough shirts.
Wow.
But that was a thrill for me. And then I had this idea a while long, what if to do a reverse Disney World, to do, Horrorland. What if there was a park where, and I did a lot of books based on that, and that was fun.
So we have to wrap this up in a minute here to do Q&A with the audience. Let's finish this with what goes on your gravestone?
My tombstone?
Yeah.
My tombstone
sorry.
is going to say, check, please. You're surprised I had an answer.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, you are. Thank you. We'll answer some questions. We'll answer some questions.
Yeah.
What was your favorite Goosebumps book to write?
I think The Haunted Mask. I think that's my best Halloween story. It's one of my real favorites. And I have to tell you, it's the only Goosebumps book, I think, that was inspired by something that happened in real life. You know, it's about Carly Beth, who wants to be scary at Halloween time, and she pulls a rubber mask down, a green rubber mask down over her face, and it sticks to her face, and it becomes part of her. And the idea for this book came actually from my son, Matt. He was a little guy. It was Halloween time, and he was like 4 or 5. He was down on the floor in the living room, and he was pulling a green rubber Frankenstein mask down over his head, and then he couldn't get it off. And I'm watching from the doorway, and he's watching him, and he's like tugging and tugging. And I thought, what a great idea. I should have helped him, right? I should have helped him. Instead, I said, great idea for a book. I started writing notes, the poor guy sitting there. And that's actually where that book came from.
Hi. So the PC game from the 90s, Escape from Horrorland, had a major, major impact on me as a person. I was wondering how much input you have in things like the PC games and the television shows.
Pretty much none. Other people do that. And I like with the Goosebumps movies where Jack Black played me, they don't want the author around. They want to do their own thing. Did you see those movies with Jack? Jack and I are like twins, right? We had a great time. He's really a terrific guy. And my only input in those movies, I got him to take out a couple Stephen King jokes. And that was it. But I got lucky because the movies were really good. Yeah, they didn't have to be. But I got lucky with that. No, usually I don't have a whole lot of input on other Goosebumps products.
In your Haunted Mask book, when the little girl had her costume from her mom, was that from your own experience?
And she gets a duck costume? Yeah, I took that from my life. Right.
How many things have you actually written?
How many books? How many books have I written? I think over 300, I think. That's crazy, right? That's pretty crazy. I got a letter from a boy last week. It said, "Dear RL Stein, have you written anything that I've read?" That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
And a few weeks ago, I got a letter from a girl who wrote, "Dear RL Stein, you are my second favorite author." That was the whole letter. That was it.
How do you make your book so suspenseful?
I think they're suspenseful because there's so many surprises. And I try to have like a big surprise in every book. And I think that's it. There's a line, we're talking about Jack Black playing me in the Goosebumps movie. And there's a line that Jack says near the end of the movie that I wish I had written. It's perfect. He's teaching a class, and he says, every story has a beginning, a middle, and a twist. And I think that's just perfect. I wish I had thought of that.
So I still think of the needle and the lipstick from Fear Street Silent Night every time I put lipstick on. And, and I wanted to ask, what draws you so much from writing from the female perspective?
I didn't hear the last part. I should be ashamed of that scene, shouldn't I? I should be ashamed of that lipstick scene, that poor girl. I didn't actually hear the last part of your question.
Yeah, so what draws you so much to writing from the female perspective?
Well, starting out, we thought that the audience would be mostly female. And now I try to mix it up. Actually deserve a better answer than that. But maybe some other night. No, that's really a very good question. And something I should think about.
We know that Jack Black portrayed you in the movie. Who would you like to portray you in a biopic?
No, Jack was perfect. Jack was great. No, we were trying to figure out who should play me in the film, and I asked my son Matt, I said, who do you think should play me in the Goosebumps movie? And he said, Morgan Freeman. So that wasn't very helpful. And then, this is a terrible story, a lot of people said, you should play yourself in the movie. Who knows you better than you? And I went to my wife, Jane, and I said, this is horrible. I said, Jane, a lot of people think I should play myself in the Goosebumps movie. And she said, you're too old to play yourself. Which is true. It's horrifying, right? To be too old to play yourself.
You mentioned the Twilight Zone as an influence. Do you have any favorite episodes of the Twilight Zone?
I do. The one with Willoughby, stop off at, you know that, where he gets off the train and he's back in the 1900s. He's an ad executive and he's actually dead, but he doesn't know it. And the conductor's saying, Willoughby, everyone out for Willoughby. That's my favorite. There's one, there's a Twilight Zone where a dummy comes to life. Yeah, there's one of that.
So you mentioned parents coming up to you asking about the morals of your story. I guess, have you ever had any kind of crazed parents come up to you with really negative responses to your books? My parents used to throw my books away in the trash, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. No, you get a lot of negative talk from parents. Back in the 90s, there was a woman, I'm trying to remember her name, who made a living by attacking Goosebumps. And she would write articles and go on TV shows and say, Goosebumps is like pornography. And the kids get a thrill just like pornography. And people loved her. She was around for a long time. Yeah, there was a lot. Nobody had ever done a scary series for this age group before. Also, the covers are much scarier than the books. So always, and so there. Back in the day, there was a lot of criticism. There was, and it was one of the most banned books of the 90s. Yay!
What was a book that you regret releasing, or like your least favorite one?
What book did I regret? Listen, I wrote a Fear Street book with an unhappy ending. And the book ended with the good girl being accused of murder and taken off as a murderer, and the murderer getting away with it. And I wrote it just fun for me, just to try something with an unhappy ending. And kids hated that. They hated it. They turned on me immediately. No, I got mail immediately. Dear RL Stein, you moron. How could you do that? Dear RL Stein, you idiot. Are you going to finish the story? And the book haunted me. I would go to schools, and every time some kid would raise his hand and say, "Why did you write that book? Why did you do that?" And I actually had to write a sequel. I wrote a sequel to make it a happy ending. And I've never done another unhappy ending. They all end happy.
A lot of your books have been recently adapted with kind of an amalgamation of a lot of them. When they came to you as an adaptation of the general idea of Goosebumps or the general idea of Fear Street, did you have any issue with that? What was your opinion on that instead of doing a straight adaptation of, say, The Haunted Mask or the Fear Street Cheerleaders?
Yeah, I know. The new Goosebumps TV series on Hulu and Disney Plus, I was kind of surprised by it. I'm not involved in it, but I was surprised because it's not for kids. It's it's Goosebumps, but it's actually for teenagers. I think they're trying to do Stranger Things. And also, I think the new Slappy is very ugly. He's really ugly, the new version. But there's a new season starting, a second season of the Goosebumps show starting January 10th, 8 more episodes. And, I have mixed feelings about it since I don't really have a hand in it. But I'm very pleased that when they do so well. And I really was shocked by the 3 Fear Street movies because they were really splatter movies. We were really slicing up teenagers. It was R-rated, and I've never done anything. Even my life isn't R-rated. I've never done anything before, and I was really shocked by those movies. And then all 3 of them were #1 on Netflix, so I got to like them a lot. It's true. Hey, one more question.
Would you ever write Fear Street books again?
Probably. I know. Yeah, I enjoy writing them. I'm mostly doing middle grade books now and these graphic novels. But maybe someday I might. But I'm very happy with the Fear Street movies coming out now. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
To learn more about RL Stein, plus links to his books and other fun resources, check the show notes or head to chicagohumanities.org. Chicago Humanities Tapes is produced and hosted by me, Elisa Rosenthal, with help from the awesome staff at Chicago Humanities who are programming these live events and making them sound fantastic. If you like what you hear, leave us a rating, write a review, and share your favorite episode with a friend. We'll be back in 2 weeks with brand new audio from another groundbreaking figure. This time, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, in conversation with Valerie Jarrett on her memoir, Lovely One. Thanks for listening, and as always, stay human.